The building had 42 floors, marble floors, glass walls, a rooftop that looked over the entire city. Every morning at 5:47 a.m. Before any executive arrived, before any security guard changed shift, before the espresso machines in the executive lounge even warmed up, a man named Marcus Webb walked through the back entrance. He wore gray coveralls. He carried a mop and a small yellow bucket. His shoes were worn at the heel. His hands were rough from years of work he never had to do. Nobody stopped him. Nobody questioned him. Because nobody looked twice at a janitor. That was exactly what Marcus had counted on. 3 years earlier, Marcus Webb had sat in a different kind of chair, leather, high-backed, overlooking the same city from the 42nd floor. He had built Calloway Group from nothing. Not inherited. Not invested into. Built with 17 years of his own hands, his own money, his own sleepless nights. He had started it in a rented basement office with 2 employees and 1 client who paid late every single month. By year 5, they had to 100 employees. By year 12, they had offices in 7 countries. By year 17, Calloway Group was valued at $1.3 billion. And then Marcus made one mistake. He trusted the wrong man. His name was Gerald Holt. Gerald had joined the company in year 9. Brilliant, charming, obsessively organized. The kind of man who sent follow-up emails before you finished reading the first one. Marcus promoted him. Then promoted him again. By year 16, Gerald Holt was coup. By year 17, Gerald Holt owned the company. Not through hard work. Not through loyalty. Through a clause. A single legal clause buried in a shareholder restructuring agreement that Marcus had signed at midnight on a Tuesday after 40 hours without sleep. His lawyers missed it. His board missed it. Gerald did not miss it. 6 months after that signature, Marcus Webb was legally removed from the company he had built. He was 51 years old. His wife had passed away 2 years before. His son was 19, studying on a scholarship. Marcus had quietly set up years earlier. He stood outside the building. His building, with a box of personal items and a legal document informing him he was no longer welcome inside. He did not cry. He did not call anyone. He simply looked up at the 42 floors and decided to come back a different way. The plan took from months to set up. Marcus had enough money to live quietly. But money wasn't what he was after. He had one goal. Elaine Marsh. Elaine was 63 years old. She had worked the night cleaning shift at Calloway Group for 11 years. When Marcus ran the company, he knew her name, her daughter's name, her favorite coffee order. When Gerald Holt took over, Elaine was the first person cut. Budget optimization. The HR email said she had received no severance, no reference letter, just a box and a Tuesday. Elaine had a heart condition. She had a daughter in college. She had no savings, because 11 years of minimum wage doesn't build savings. Marcus found out 3 weeks after it happened. That was when the plan began. Getting the janitor job was simpler than he expected. The cleaning staff for Calloway Group was outsourced to a company called ClearPath Services. Marcus applied using a shortened version of his resume, only manual labor jobs from his early 20s. Before the company existed, he was hired in for days. He requested the morning shift. The building manager, a young man named Derek, who couldn't have been older than 24, handed him a mop and said, "Executive floor gets done first. Try not to make noise before 7. Marcus said, "Yes, sir." He had once signed Derek's father's severance check. He said nothing about that either. The first week, Marcus cleaned. That was all. He mapped the building. He relined every hallway, every server room, every storage space. He watched who came in early and who stayed late. The second week, he began to understand what Gerald Holt had done to the company. It was not good. Calloway Group's best clients, the ones Marcus had spent years building relationships with, were quietly leaving. 3 had already gone to competitors. 2 more were preparing to leave. The engineering team that Marcus had spent 6 years assembling had been cut in half. Gerald had replaced them with cheaper contractors who missed deadlines and produced work that the remaining engineers had to silently fix. The company was not collapsing yet, but it was the kind of building where the foundation cracks before the walls show it. Marcus saw the cracks. He had built the foundation. He knew exactly what they meant. On the 41st day, Marcus made his first move. He knew that Calloway Group's largest remaining client, Hammond Industries, had a contract renewal meeting scheduled. He also knew, from 3 years of relationship building, that Hammond's CEO, a meticulous man named Philip Chen, had one rule: he never signed contracts with companies he didn't trust. Gerald Holt had never met Philip Chen in person. Marcus had spent a weekend at Philip's home in Vancouver 6 years ago, helping his daughter with a college application essay. That morning, Marcus sent Philip Chen a single message from a private email address. It contained 3 words: "Don't sign yet." Philip Chen did not sign. The meeting ended without a contract. Gerald Holt spent 3 days trying to understand why. The second move came on day 60-7. Marcus found, while cleaning the server room on the 38th floor, a hard drive that had been incorrectly disposed of. Not wiped, not destroyed. Just left in a trash bag by someone who didn't understand what was on it. Marcus understood. He brought it home. He made copies. He gave the original to a lawyer, not his own lawyer, but one who had once worked for Calloway Group before Gerald Holt had fired half the legal team. The lawyer read what was on the drive overnight. He called Marcus at 6 a.m. "Marcus," he said, "this is enough." "Not yet," Marcus said. "Why not?" "Because I need one more thing." The third move happened on day 112. Gerald Holt arrived at the office that morning in a worse mood than usual. 3 clients had now officially left. The board was asking questions. The press had started to notice. He stepped out of the elevator on the 42nd floor. A janitor was mopping the hallway. Gerald barely glanced at him. "You missed a spot," Gerald said, pointing at a section of floor that was completely clean. The janitor looked down at the floor. Then looked up. And Gerald Holt saw his face. For the first time, the mop handle hit the floor. Nobody moved. The assistant at the far end of the hallway looked up from her computer. Gerald's voice came out low and strange, like a man who had just stepped on something he couldn't identify in the dark. "That's not possible." Marcus said nothing. He simply reached into the front pocket of his gray coveralls, the ones with the Clear Path Services logo on the chest, and placed a single USB drive on the ledge of the nearest desk. Then he picked up his mop. "The floor on 38 needs attention," Marcus said. "I'll get to it after lunch." He walked to the elevator. He pressed the button. He waited. Gerald Holt called his lawyers. Within the hour, the lawyers called him back within 2. Then they stopped calling because the contents of that USB drive, combined with the original hard drive now in the possession of a former Calloway Group attorney, contained enough evidence of fraudulent contract manipulation to expose Gerald Holt to both civil and criminal liability. The shareholder agreement that had removed Marcus was not just aggressive. It was illegal, a clause that had been quietly backdated. A signature obtained under false pretenses, a legal team that had been paid off the books to look the other way. 3 days later, the board met without Gerald. 6 days after that, Gerald Holt resigned. 17 days after that, Marcus Webb walked back into Calloway Group, not through the back entrance, through the front doors. In a suit, the staff who had survived 3 years of Gerald Holt's leadership stood in the lobby. Some of them had been there when Marcus ran the building. Some of them were new. All of them had heard the story by now. Marcus stopped in the center of the lobby. He looked at the 42 floors above him. Then he looked at the people around him. He said only one thing before going upstairs: "Is Elaine Marsh available? I'd like to offer her position back, with 3 years of back pay." Nobody said a word. Then, slowly, someone started clapping. And the lobby filled with sound. Gerald Holt later told investigators that he had never recognized Marcus. "He was just the janitor," he said. Marcus, when asked by a journalist why he hadn't simply sued from the beginning, gave an answer that nobody quite expected: "Because I needed to understand what he had done to the people who trusted me." You can't fix something you haven't seen up close. He paused. Also, he added quietly, the floors needed cleaning. Some people fight back with lawyers. Some people fight back with silence. Marcus Webb fought back with a mop and won everything